Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Harry Potter miniature series. In this episode we'll be looking at creating this part of the Hogwarts corridor that you see in front of you. It's the same process that we went through in episode 3 where we made the bases, but I'll take you through the creation of the door and how we did the walls and the pillars and everything as well. So so the plan of these little videos that I'm doing is to create the similar backdrops to what they used in the promotional material for the Kickstarter. They did about 3 or 4 different areas of Hogwarts with various doors behind the miniatures. So that's what I wanted to recreate, and it makes a good backdrop for your game, and it makes a nice display piece for your figures when they're finished as well. So that's the plan anyway. So let's get started. So as you can see, I've got a piece of MDF. It's 6mm thick. Got it from the local hardware store. The dimensions aren't set in stone. It's just purely guesswork from me. Because I've gone 12 centimeters high because the miniatures are about 35 centimeters or 35 mils, I should say, and I wanted the door about that big, and I thought it's going to be a high ceiling anyway. So there we are. The door is going to go right in the middle. So other things that you're going to need are like coffee stirrers to make up the panels of the door. I've got some other bits of balsa wood that I had knocking about. I might use them for tops of arches and stuff like that. And I found these plastic strips. I might need them to tart up the door a bit, really. Put some struts across it. But the main ingredient is this foam. You can get this from craft stores. They're about, I don't know, this was 50p a sheet or something like that. It's quite thin, but it's lovely stuff to make walls and roads with. But I might come on to that in another episode, but that'll be a Batman themed one. So yeah, I've cut the MDF to shape. I used a different colour foam because I had some knocking about, and I've made a hole for the door. And so the next bit was taking the coffee stirrers. I reckon I could go for about 65 mils height on the door, and you just mark off at the bottom and then measure 65 millimeters is about there, and I marked off all 5 and added a curve at the top. So once you do that, true Blue Peter style, I'm talking to the Brits here, they probably our colonial cousins haven't got a clue what Blue Peter is. These are the ones I made earlier. I used to make things on Blue Peter, I think, so speed things up. They had stuff prepared beforehand. Right, so there's the door. That's the basics anyway. So from that I made a template out of foam because it's cheap and cheerful, and I used some other foam that I got knocking about, cut out the shape of the hole of the door, and I've used 2 because these coffee stirrers are quite thick. I was hoping to use some really thin balsa wood for the door, but I couldn't find any, so that's the only reason. If you can find some thin balsa wood, crack on, you only need 1 layer of the foam. But from here we'll be gluing the foam to the board, and we'll come back when it's dry. So I forgot to mention that I'm just gluing it down with some quick drying PVA glue. Right out. The foam is glued into place and it's dry. I also glued down the coffee stirrers for the door. As you can see, I've had a little thin piece of plastic card there. You can use cardboard if you want. Just just cut it really thinly. So I've done 4 strips across there, just to look like the door's being reinforced. I'll glue them into place in a minute. And if I can find a little bit of wire, I'll do a little circle for the door handle. And then I got a piece of balsa wood that I had lying about. And I'm starting to think now that I wish I'd done it on some foam board, but I've already started. So I cut out 2 pieces. Well, first I marked them off first, just a pleasing shape, shall we say, for the bottom of each pillar. So cut those out, and then the pillars are about 1 centimetre across, quite a decent thickness of, it's about 5mm balsa wood, but I think foam board would be really good for this. Just had this stuff lying about, I've had it for years, so I thought I might as well use it. So those are going to be the pillars, and before I glue them in place I need to go over the top of the foam with a wire brush. You can get these from hardware stores or something like that. It's a hard metal brush, and I'm just scoring the foam just to rough things up a bit, so when you put plaster on the top it gets a better bond for the plaster. So I'm just doing like 4 directions, left and right, diagonals. So I think I'll glue the columns into place, and then I'll start on the plaster. So I'll come back when I've glued the columns on. Right, for the next stage I'm using polyfiller, or any plaster of Paris will do. I think the ratio is about 2 parts plaster to 1 part water, and I mixed it in here. And what I found handy is a knife you can get from art shops. I think it's used for, using oils work. But it's just a case of adding it to the board now, and smoothing it out so you get a nice smooth layer. And we'll do that for each section then. I won't bore you with me doing every one, but just try and get a nice smooth finish on it. It doesn't have to be really smooth, because at the end of the day they're huge stones really, aren't they? So don't be too worried about it. It might look nice with a little bit of variation on it, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to leave that to dry. I'll do the other sections as well, and we'll come back. Okay, so that's the pillars done as well. It's just a case of waiting for it to dry. I'm going to leave it at least 24 hours, and we can start scoring it. Right, after about 24 hours drying time, it's ready to be marked now. It's the tedious bit, I'm afraid. What I've done, I've just used a pencil. I've put the flagstones above the arch and marked out lines, and then turned it on its side to do the shapes of brickwork then. And the even more tedious part is to, if you've seen the previous one on making the bases, it's the same technique, same tool. It's just a case of lining up and just scoring to make grooves in a brickwork shape. So I'm going to do that now. I say there's not much point showing you that part because it's really tedious, and because it's so light anyway you can't see what's going on. So basically just scrape your way across each line just to make a groove. Make sure they join up all the way around, and then we'll come back then. Alright, so after a little bit of scoring now, it's starting to look like a wall. I'm just going to do the last bit now. But I've done the horizontal lines. I just need to do the vertical ones. After that, we can add some paint, and it'll start to look hopefully semi-decent. If you can hear it scraping, that's when you know it's dried properly. Otherwise, it'll just feel soft. Okay. All right. I think we're at just about ready for some paint now, so that'll be the next stage. Okay, so we've got all the scoring done. I've just nipped out to the garage to give it a prime. I just use Halfords, and I've mixed, well, I've got a Zandri dust, and I've added quite a bit of water to it, as you can see, probably too much. Might need 2 coats now. And you can start to see all the brickwork coming out now. Yeah, I'll need 2 coats on this. I've gone too thin. So just basically give the whole thing a coat of paint. Leave it dry. Okay, so that's 2 coats of the Carriage stone on that one. I think it's only because I primed them. I don't usually prime them, I just go straight over the top like I did with the bases, and that gave a nicer finish. I think if you didn't bother priming it, it'd be just as good. The next stage then is to add, I've got this liquid pigment online, it's called Carriage Grime, and it's a nice brown colour. You can see I've done, this is going to be the base part, and that's going to be the wall going at 90 degrees there. And you can see I've already done in between the lines. It's nice and runny, and it flows into the grooves quite nicely. And it's darker than a Carriage stone. So another tedious part, I'm afraid, but it's got to be done. So I've got quite a bit on my brush, and a lot of it's going to get absorbed. So it looks a lot darker going on, but it does dry away to a nicer finish. And again, I'm not going to bore you with doing the whole thing. I'll just do a couple of tiles. And you do the cracks as well. But that's more of an osmotic process. So just dab it in, and it gets absorbed along the crack. And the good thing about this is if you wet your finger, you can get rid of it, and it stays in the crack. It's great stuff. So I'm using a size 1 brush here, so as long as it's got a point on it. And if you do get any on the brick, just wipe it off. So I'm going to crack on with the rest of the wall, and we'll make a start on the door then. But this stage really does start to bring it to life now. It's not looking too bad at all. The grey didn't work out as nicely as I wanted, so I used the Zandri dust and added a bit of the XV88 to it, and it's a bit better. And then I went round with the pigment again. What I'm going to do now is to throw some Agrax on it now, just to get some definition in the shades. And I'll push it up underneath the metal parts. Try and stick in the grooves. Plan is then to throw a couple of highlights on it and we should be done, hopefully. Okay, so the last bit is just the metal strips. And leave to dry. Okay, so we're finished. I've added onto the base as well. Tiles are big enough for one base size, about 30mm square. So yeah, Luna's the only one I've got painted so far, but that's about to change because I've got the troll primed and ready to start tonight. Hopefully I'll get a tutorial up for that as well. So yeah, hope you liked it. Hope you find it useful. I say it's going to be an ongoing project where I want different backdrops of different areas of Hogwarts. So yeah, I might do another one soon, hopefully. So yeah, if you need any help with anything, give us a shout. Get involved in the comments, and of course like and subscribe and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.